Welcome back. Segment number 2 of the Broad Podcaster with me, Jennifer Fierro, here in the Highland Lakes, joined with Art Dlugach, the voice of the Llano Yellow Jackets. Art and I have already covered the Llano football team and talked a little bit about their upcoming matchup in the bi-district or first round of the playoffs. In this segment, we're going to talk about the Burnet County 11-man football teams, if you will. And we're going to start with the Bulldogs because they had a heartbreaking loss on Friday. Lost at Taylor, 41-40. Had a 2-hour weather delay because of lightning and, lightning mostly.
Yes.
Could not get that game going before 9:30. Then they were able to finally get it going. Let me give you a recap, and please bear with me as I try to rewind that game in my head. Taylor won the coin flip and deferred. Burnet took the opening drive, went down and scored, missed the extra point. Taylor responded, went down, tied the game at 6-6 because Grant Jones blocked the extra point attempt. Burnet went down and scored again, but they went for 2 to try to get that missing 7th point. Didn't get it. Taylor went down and scored, and then they got their extra point, so they took a 13-12 lead. Well, those misses, because each team scored touchdowns. Well, I take that back. Taylor scored on all 4 of their offensive possessions in the first half. They scored touchdowns, and they led at the half. I happen to have it in front of me. They led at half 27-18. The one possession that Burnet did not score on, they had to punt. But where this game was won and lost was in 2 areas. Number 1, Burnet missed a total of 7 points because they missed 3 consecutive 2-point attempts and then that 1 extra point on the first touchdown. And then the last one was a fumble inside the Taylor red zone when it looked like in the third quarter, sometime in the second half, when it looked like Burnet was going to take the lead. I don't know that they would have been able to have held off the Ducks at that point, but I would like to think that they would have come very, very close. Go ahead.
Well, this is not me. This is Babe Laufenberg, the former quarterback and outstanding analyst on the Dallas Cowboys radio network with Brad Sham and Christy Scales. And I heard him say this 4, 5, 6 years ago, that you go for those 2s late in the game. You pick up the 1s along the way. Then when you've got to have the 2, sure. You know, it's that stupid chart that beats you, because the chart will say, well, sure, we're up 18-13, we'll say, or whatever. So it's time to go for 2, so that then it'll be 20-13. What the chart doesn't say is you may not make that 2. There's a real good chance you won't. So if Burnet early had just settled for those 1s, might be a whole different story. And I know you're thinking it's hindsight. Well, there's nothing else we can do on a Thursday afternoon but talk in hindsight tones. And that's mine for this segment, I hope. But you just got to, like I say, I didn't think of that until I heard Babe Laufenberg mention it on one of the broadcasts for the Cowboys, and I've believed it ever since.
Sure. Well, there's no doubt you learn more from a loss than you do from winning. I've always believed that. Statistically, I had Burnet for 561 yards of total offense to Taylor's 362.
Wow.
So statistically, I felt that Burnet had... I feel like they did everything they were supposed to, minus what happened on special teams and minus that 1 fumble. That 1 fumble. Now, all of my stats are unofficial, folks. I would go to the coaches or whoever they use as their official statistician to figure this stuff out. But this is what I had in my observations, and I'm telling you, there's no question in my mind. That game came down to those 7 points that were missed on the 2-point conversions and the extra point. and then the one fumble inside the Taylor red zone. Marble Falls had a much.
Let me just reaffirm that loss kept Burnet out of the playoffs.
Correct, because Taylor and Burnet were playing each other for that fourth spot.
Okay.
The winner of that game advanced to the playoffs. Their prize is taking on Bernie High, and that game will be played Thursday night at Mustang Stadium in Marble Falls.
And is it Bernie's undefeated?
Undefeated.
Whoa.
Undefeated, won District 14. Undefeated. I don't know. I can't remember if they're 10-0 or not, but I know that they won their district undefeated.
I think they are 10.
Okay. All right. Marble Falls had a tougher time at Davenport. Davenport gets the opening kickoff and returns it for a touchdown to start the game. Marble Falls has 2 fumbles, throws 2 interceptions, and has a turnover on downs in their 5 possessions of the first half, and they're down 35-0 at half.
Oh, brother. That's a fine team, that Davenport.
Yes, it is. Davenport builds a 42-0 lead. They put in the reserves. Jamie Castillo scores a late touchdown in the fourth quarter to prevent Marble Falls from getting shut out 49-7. I have not had a chance to talk to Brian Herman, but I can tell you he has been doing a lot of, he is really thinking about what he wants to do in the offseason beyond just lifting weights and conditioning. So I will be curious to hear from him what he plans to do to help his players, because if you read my 10 insights into Highland Lake sports, it's on TexasChalkTalk.com. There's one thing about the slot T that I honestly believe, and I don't know if I think it's different from the spread, but the slot T is not a scheme. It's a mentality. It is a mental focus. It is an attitude. And if you don't have that, mental edge to you in running that scheme, it will be a very challenging scheme for the offense to execute, and the defense will feast on that, because you are either mentally strong enough to run that scheme or you're not. It is a mental attitude. It is an edge. And that's where I think Brian Herman will focus the first part of his offseason. That's my theory. I'm curious to hear and see, because I'll catch up with him here in a while and ask him that. In that sense, I do think it is a little different from the spread, even though I will tell you, and I have said this to Brian Herman, it is more fun to watch the spread than it is to watch the slot T. I will tell you that. It's more fun to watch a passing team than it is to watch a team that just hands the ball off. But you know what is more fun than handing the ball off or throwing the ball? Winning. Winning is a lot more fun. And I am a fan of any scheme that wins. I've said that to Brian Herman. I have said that to Brian Wood. I have said that to Matt Green. I have said that to Stephen Shipley. I have said that to Charles Frazier. And I think there are lots and lots of fans who feel the same way I do. They are fans of any scheme that wins.
But are there some kids who will not play because they don't want to play in a slot T, thinking way ahead that they might get to play in college and that college team is going to run the spread?
We'll see. Because you and I both know we've done this a long time. How many kids have we heard from at the end of a grueling season say to us, not playing next year? And how many of them actually do it? Mm-hmm. So that's, and I'm going to tell you, there's no doubt with the Mustangs, no doubt. I never saw 2-8 coming. I will go on the record and say that. I never saw 2-8. Not in August, not in early September. Never would have thought 2-8 at that time. So and talking to other people, they didn't see 2-8 either. The kids, just talking to some of the players, they did not see 2-8 in August and early September. You don't go through, believe me when I tell you, you don't go through triple-digit fall training camp in the Texas heat and think you're going to go 2-8. Very few players will do that. I don't care what age you are. Nobody thinks that.
I agree with you on that totally.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see that. As far as Burnet goes, I think that this loss to Taylor will drive the Bulldogs to even greater heights. I think that this loss will stay with them because this was one that they gave away in a much different way. I honestly believe this. I will say this till the cows come home. Davenport is a very athletic team whose team speed is something the Mustangs, I don't believe the Mustangs, nor the Badgers, nor the Taylor Ducks, nor the Burnet Bulldogs could have simulated. There's no way they could have done that in practices. I don't believe they have the personnel. But losing to Davenport and Canyon Lake doesn't make or break your season. You only needed 2 wins in this district to get in the playoffs. Okay? That's a fact. That's a fact.
Simulating in practice is very difficult for most teams.
Yes.
I mean, when you're going up against a team maybe that's favored to beat you or has a great passer or a great running back, yes, that's tough to do in anybody's practice.
You bet. Okay. That is all I have to say about the Mustangs and the Bulldogs. We're going to close this segment out. We are going to stay in Burnet County, but we're going to talk about our 6-man football teams, particularly Faith Academy, because the Flames are hosting a playoff game on Friday night.
I like that.
Can't wait to get into that. Please stay with us. As always, for all of your Highland Lake sports news, please go to TexasChalkTalk.com. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and share the channel.